By now, everybody has seen and heard about the devastating wildfires that have hit Southern California. While the crisis is ongoing, many Americans wonder how to help their fellow citizens on the West Coast. So veteran-led nonprofit Team Rubicon has been on the ground in LA and continues to aid survivors today. Joining from their headquarters in Los Angeles is CEO Art delaCruz. Good morning, Art. Nice to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. Thanks for having me, Noah.
My pleasure. So, Art, thank you so much for all that you and the team at Rubicon are doing to help the victims that have been affected by these crazy, horrific wildfires that we continue to see on our TV screens day after day. Art, can you give us specifics of what Team Rubicon has been doing and is ready to do in LA? Talk to us about that. Inform the viewers on what you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, well, the first thing that Team Rubicon is doing is trying to ensure that these amazing heroes, these firefighters and law enforcement, can continue to fight these fires in containment. So immediately what we've been doing, since the fire started is seeing how we can alleviate some of the other tasks they might have to do. There's been debris knocked down by the Santa Anas in communities not impacted by the fires, and we've been clearing those. We've been, executing points of distribution to make sure people have ice and water in places that have had their power turned off. And now we're actually joining the California National Guard, sheriffs, and police officers at these access points with a very specific function of providing information to these survivors as they return to their communities on how to stay safe, the processes and points of contact that can help them in this moment of need.
You have many veterans, including yourself, in Team Rubicon, but what skills do they bring to disaster relief efforts?
Yeah, veterans are really unique in that they have skills, experience, and frankly, an education that they had. And I like to think of it as, I'm a graduate of the School of the Navy and others from the Marine Corps or Army or Air Force. And what you do is you take different courses over your career, from safety to leadership to organizing, efforts and making decisions in oftentimes chaotic situations where maybe you don't have all of the information. And those are the exact kinds of skills that help you in disasters and moving forward in progress, not impeding efforts that are necessary, and then keeping people safe.
Art, why is it crucial for Team Rubicon for volunteers to ease the burden for first responders? Talk to us about that as we're taking a look at the B-roll here.
Yeah, I like to think of this idea that, you let people do what they do best. And the firefighters are really the only service providers that can be in there on the front lines. So let's see what we can do and do well. Again, those tasks that I listed are things that they probably have to do or are going to be delayed, and we can jump in there and do it. The other special thing we do is we stay out of their way and enable their mission. And that's really, really critical in times like this where they're struggling to get rest. You begin to see them in these incredible work cycles, and you begin to see it specifically in the broad scale of these terrible fires.
Now, Art, what are the next steps in this response? Can you, talk to us about that? Like, how long do you expect for this to be going on?
Yeah, I would expect that Team Rubicon and LA writ large is going to be involved for the coming days, weeks, and months, and even years. It's going to take a long time to recover. Right now the picture's getting clearer. I would anticipate that Team Rubicon will answer different calls that perhaps are unexpected. You think about the myriad of problems that are ahead of us. Things like getting kids into alternative schools if their buildings were burned down. That might involve, things like lifting furniture or rehabilitating a space to make that happen. Points of distribution, collecting, critical materials and donations and moving them out. And then it's the practical piece of recovery and then bracing for the next potential disaster. As a matter of fact, this morning, we have already been engaged in discussions about sandbagging some of these areas, because we know with February approaching, there's likely to be some types of rains, and these burn-scarred areas are ripe for mudslides unless there are interventions done now.
Wow. I did not think about that, but I'm glad that you brought that point up to the viewers watching. And, so many people, they're watching this, they're watching our interview, watching the conversation. They see everything on the news happening with what's going on out there. They want to help. But what are some of the do's and don'ts for any crisis? Like, talk to us about that, because I really think that's important.
Yeah, I think that, thank you for giving us the attention. The reality is, through your generosity or philanthropy or your acts, you can oftentimes exacerbate the disaster. Right now we're experiencing a bit of a second disaster in the number of donated goods. So you can imagine a parking lot full of, clothing or shoes or materials. Someone's going to have to sort through that. Someone's going to have to distribute them.
It's going to really boggle people down,
Oh, it does. And, versus cash, where maybe you can go, I'm going to immediately match the need with the materials this client, requires. So that's one of them. I think another element that people can really, aid in is, pairing up or donating to an organization like ours, trusa.org, where you can give your time, or you can give, the fuel that's going to be necessary for this long run. That's a really efficient way to, contribute to what our community is going to need right now, which is a team effort.
I agree. And, so many people, they have a little sensitive spot on the clothing topic, but I mean, it's great that people want to donate their clothes. Like, I've seen a lot of stars donate their closets, everything that they have in their closet, of clothing. But it's going to boggle people down. Cash money is really what people need, so then they can go and get the necessities that they need for their families. But, being on the ground in California, Art, what essentials are you really seeing that people need the most currently right now in the, in this state?
Yeah, I think as people move forward, you can imagine just surveying everything has been burned to the ground. You maybe escaped with a luggage or, important documents. You name it, and they're going to need it. And I don't know if it comes from, a big box store, if it's something like medicines, again, all of them are individual and customized to that family or that person. And cash, again, is one of those great motivators of it. And, the other piece is, they're going to communicate what they need across the board. And it's great, a bit like a wedding registry, if you're actually picking items that someone's identified as needing, instead of going, I hope someone can use this. Really, really big difference.
Right. Absolutely. And with all that being in mind, Art, how can our viewers help? Where should we direct them to?
Hey, if your viewers are in Los Angeles or frankly across the country, consider joining us. We have 180,000 people across the country, 12,000, in SoCal. And you can contribute your time and energy, donate, to organizations, keep your ear to the ground and listen to the needs. And the final thing I'd urge everybody to do is remember, a disaster could happen to you. So take a little time for preparedness for you and your family, from evacuation plans to having medicine, to looking around your house and making sure you've created your own resilience as necessary. Because again, the fewer people we need to help after a disaster, the faster the recovery.
Absolutely. Very well said, Art. We'll have all the information below. By the way, I want to point this out because I know people are going to be commenting on this interview like, what about North Carolina? Art, is there anything that we can do to help the victims still suffering from the hurricanes in North Carolina? Because people will be commenting that. They'll be adding me on the internet. So is there anything that we can share for them too?
Yeah. North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, they're still in the recovery. As a matter of fact, Team Rubicon has 4 operations happening, and that happened, that hurricane made landfall September 27th. We have teams in Lahaina, Maui, and they are here 17 months after that fire hit, and they're still doing smoke remediation there. So I think it's a reminder for your viewers that this recovery in Los Angeles is going to take a long time, long after the news gets below the fold or falls out of the attention span, of the viewers. Every day there are people across the country waking up and saying, man, I could use some help. So be a part of that, and I thank you for helping us to amplify our message.
Absolutely. So many people across the country need help, and we see you and we hear you, and we're trying to help as many people as we can. And that is what Team Rubicon is doing, and that's why I wanted to bring them on my platform this morning. Thank you so much, Art, for coming on iHollywood TV. You take care. Keep doing the good, helping the people that need it the most.
I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for sharing our message.
My pleasure. Take care. Have a great day.
All right, take care.